We live? Hi, Jody. Couple minutes set up here, as usual. Confirming I am live. Yes. All right. Let people know I'm live. How's everybody doing today? Hope you had a wonderful weekend. All right, what do you call this? This is roll around in the mud. Sunday night stream. Post this. See if that worked. Yeah, there we go. All right, we'll roll around the mud time. Audio good, camera mediocre as usual. Just started raining here, so just a heads up if we get a sudden interruption. Jody's doing awesome, good. Jody showed up to roll around the mud. Awesome, that's awesome. Yeah, we were getting forecast severe thunderstorms throughout the late afternoon, and I was in Winnipeg today visiting with parents and doing other stuff, had coffee with a buddy of mine, and I was expecting just torrents of rain, or I was expecting lots of water on the ground when I got home, but as I was driving up, there were dusts of cloud behind my truck. So I was driving down the gravel roads. It looked like there was no rain at all. So when I got home, this was my face. And then I was setting up for this live stream. I was going to go shoot it out on the deck. And then it just started coming down, and it was windy and rainy. So I didn't think that was going to work. So we're back in the bedroom studio here. Lots of furniture rearranging going on. But it all worked out, so nice and dry. It got really cool last night after the live stream. I was sitting outside. I had to put a heavy flannel jacket on, but yeah, it's good for the garden. I don't need rain here, other than there's been like an open fire ban, so if you want to have like a little campfire or anything, and I got some brush to burn in a burn barrel, but this should soak everything down good enough that I can start doing some burns. But But yeah, I was hoping for at least a little bit of rain, and so yeah, that grumpy face turned into more of a happy face here. So this is me now. And so I grabbed a Slurpee on the way home. So what are we all here for anyway? Live YouTube. That's right. This is YouTube. Before we get into other stuff, last night after the stream, we were talking about nicknames. I got a few suggestions. I guess Dad was tuning in after the live show, and he had a few suggestions for me. We can go through his list. But after we were done, I decided to hook the stereo up to my laptop and got back into some Graham Parsons and the Flying Burrito Band, Flying Burrito Brothers, and yeah, just some pretty cool music there. I brought up the nickname Skeeter Davis last night, so I did a little more reading up on old Skeeter, and she was born not Skeeter, and we mentioned this last night, Mary Frances Pennock, and she got the name Skeeter, nickname Skeeter, from her grandfather, who compared her to a mosquito as a young child. So, for whatever reason, that name stuck with her for the rest of her life. So she became Skeeter. But the career, like, it's a really cool, cool or odd story. She hooked up with a friend of hers to form this singing duet, and her friend's last name was Davis. And for whatever reason, she changed her last name. She adopted the last name Davis, even though that wasn't her last name. And they became the Davis sisters. And then the other Davis sister, who was her friend, ended up dying in a car crash. And like, it's just a wild story. Go to the Wikipedia page or see if you can find a documentary on Skeeter Davis. But yeah, very much before my time. She was in the mid to late 40s and 50s and on. So she had a long career. But that's Skeeter Davis, the inspiration for the nickname Top 10, which was actually Top 7. And you guys could supply the rest of the nicknames. So that's still open for discussion. I want to hear your best nicknames. Anyway, I limited it to, I mean, Skeeter Davis, not necessarily rock and roll, but it was in the context of Graham Parsons talking about Skeeter Davis that it kind of clicked. It's like, that would be a neat video, the rock and roll nicknames. Because if you look at the old American blues, like, they all had crazy nicknames, Blind Lemon, and Blind Melon Chitlin, or was that Cheech and Chong? They all had these crazy nicknames, and it became part of that culture of the blues. So for whatever reason, they all chose these different monikers, or were given these different monikers, and that's what they performed under. But I'm just so entertained by some of these nicknames. I'm gonna find some of Dad's comments, and I had actually thought of some of these. Let's see if I get all of his. Oh, here we go. So where did he start at the bottom and work? Oh, he had a bunch here. And hopefully the light is okay in here. I can either dim the overhead lights or turn them up. I've got a light kind of off to the side here, so if I got weird shadows, let me know. But it's kind of the best I can do at this point. That's not bad. In post-production, I'll fix the lighting. So one of his suggestions was Satchmo. I have no idea who that is. I didn't Google that. Sting. I I think I might agree with this one as a kick-ass, top-notch. I don't know if it's top three, maybe top 10 nickname, because yeah, he became known as Sting. Uh, his next suggestion was Slash. There, I had thought of Slash, but to me, I don't know. Like everybody knows him as Slash. Professionally, he's been known as Slash. Uh, but I was looking at Slash's wiki page, and I couldn't find how he got that nickname. I didn't look up Sting, how he got that nickname. But everybody's heard of Sting around the world. He just became that. Satchmo, I'm going to have to do my homework on. He suggested Alice. I would disagree with that one because the band was named Alice, and he kind of adopted that name as the front man. I mean, he is Alice. He's become Alice. But Vincent, it's not so much a nickname as that became like a persona, like a stage persona. So, I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here, but I purposefully didn't include Alice. We could always put it up to a vote, although this isn't anywhere near a democratic process. Bono, is that a nickname or again like a branding? I don't know how Bono got that moniker either. There's a couple more. Miss Divine. I don't even know who that is. Miss Devine. Maybe let's look that up. So I don't even know who that nickname is associated with. I'll get back to the comments in a second. Miss Divine. I see something having to do with StoryCorps animated short. I'm gonna put that one on the shelf for a minute. Louis Armstrong is Satchmo. Okay. Bono is his real name. Hey, what's the matter you? Welcome in. Welcome in, Polo, Lorata. Los Ratones represent. Guilty. I'm gonna plead innocent. Just to throw you a curveball. No, this is the same studio, just different angle. Before you were perched on this table here. This is an antique table I need to sell, but it needed the top refinish, so I just put a couple coats of stain on it this week. But that used to be where you sat. Now you're sitting on a rinky-dinky little table here, propped up on a stack of books, like old school when I first started doing stuff here. So yeah, we're getting back to our roots. We'll finish off Dad's list here, and then we could go back through my list, even though I forget what they all were. Velvet Fog, that was what, Mel Torme? Not rock and roll. It's a nickname. Chairman of the board, Sinatra, is that correct? Again, not rock and roll. Fab Four. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of more going after the individual names, but they're definitely rock and roll. The Boss, I mean, that's a good nickname as well, but I think people identify more with Springsteen now. But of that list that I had there, like, okay, let me see if I remember who was even on there. We started with Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. Geezer is obviously not his given name at birth. He was Terry Butler. But who knows Terry Butler? Everybody knows Geezer. You don't even have to say last name. It's Geezer Butler. There is only one Geezer out there. Then we had Filthy Phil from Motorhead. Was it the Ramones next as a band? The whole band, the Ramones, they all adopted the name Ramone as their last name. And it's like the Beatles didn't do that. It wasn't John Beatle and Ringo Beatle and the other two, whichever they were. The Monkees, they didn't all take on the name Monkey, but the Ramones was like they created this culture within their band. They were just a bunch of New York thugs, is how they wanted to come across, and I think they captured that brilliantly. So it just became a cool thing, and you know, their roster throughout the years, they just became, you know, Brent Ramone or What's the Matter Ramone, or you know, whoever. If you were in the band, that became you. So yeah, Louis Armstrong, not rock and roll, in the sense of this was a rock and roll list. After the Ramones, what did we have? John Lydon, Johnny Rotten. Most people may, especially in the UK, you'll recognize the name John Lydon. What's the Matter was in the band. Okay. Were you the accordionist or second banjo? I forget. John Lydon, Johnny Rotten, you know, Sex Pistols, the whole thing. He became Johnny Rotten. Like he's not a rotten guy though. Kicked me out for, well, yeah, obviously. Then we had Black Oak, Arkansas, and every one of those dudes in that band had some, what do they call, epic nicknames. So you can go look up the list of their roster. I'm not going to run through it, but Jim Dandy to the Rescue was one of their big hits, and their lead singer was James Dandy was his nickname. Hamgren or Hangren, I forget his name. Just a bunch of thuggish looking Southern boys too. Like if they didn't have nicknames, you could probably easily give them nicknames off the top of your head just by looking at them. Yeah, Dirty Doherty. I still can't pronounce that correctly. Then who else did we have? Skeeter Davis. And then my top pick, I only gave 7 out of 10, was Ace Frehley. I mean, that's just a cool nickname. Whatever you think of it. Like, I mean, the story goes, he showed up to his audition just looking like a total freak. He was wearing one blue sneaker or one red sneaker and one green sneaker, and the band just didn't even know what to do with him. And like that character, that humor, like he was an ace at whatever he did, you know, in lifestyle and performing. Like he was the heart and soul of that band, whether you like Kiss or not. I'm still a big fan of Ace. The others, you know, they're not as interesting. You know, Gene Simmons, you know, he's got opinions. He can be controversial or try to be controversial, but Ace is just this dude, and yeah, he looks like an ace. So yeah, I was saying, I'm surprised there's not a lot more aces running around, you know, as a given name, or at least as a middle name. But yeah, that was my top 7. I think I missed one there. I mean, I'm not going to go back and look what it was. I didn't even write it down. But yeah, so there were a few that like their argument could be made for Bono, Slash. It was kind of just someone who so adopted this persona or personality or this branding. Yep, Kiss suck too. So yeah, some people know what they're talking about when it comes to music. Others don't. But it's all good. Everybody welcome. I'll take a thumbs down as well as a thumbs up. It's all the same to me. So yeah, feel free. MJ, Michael Jackson, or I mean, wasn't that his name? Or is there? Maybe I'm missing a meaning here. Feel free to elaborate. Lost my train of thought. So yeah, by all means, either in the chat or comment on yesterday's video if you're going back to look at it, on this video. These nicknames, like, I could have come up with another 3, but just for interactive crowd participation, I wanted to see what you guys thought. Yes, but MJ is still a neat nickname. Is it? Okay, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, the other one, off the top of my head, Prince. But it's almost like he tried too hard to become this thing. Like, I mean, there's other stage names like Bob Dylan. His last name was Zimmerman, wasn't it? Like, some people just take on a name to become. But like Prince, by the time he was doing that thing, the artist formerly known as Prince, I think people had kind of given up. It's like, you're just trying too hard. It's okay to say Kiss music sucked, but they made like $1 billion gajillion dollars. They also lost probably twice as much as with their. I mean, I think they made all their money on toys and scams. So, I mean, I don't even qualify for the Kiss Army anymore because I'm over age, and I'm only 53. But they kicked me out. I'm unable to re-enlist. Like that the last tour, Ace and Peter were the only ones that made money because Paul and Gene, they were the ones fronting all the finances, and it was such an expensive tour. In the end, Kiss coffins, yeah. Yeah, it was just all the product, all the merch that the dolls, the posters, the shirts. As far as like record sales, I guess bands make money on the touring. And by the time Kiss was doing their farewell tours, like they were in control of their own finances. They didn't have. They might have had managers to pay, but I think Paul and Gene were pretty much managing the affair. But the stadium tours itself, I don't think they made a lot of money. Ace had very little money by the time they brought him back as a performer, as a paid musician. Same with Peter Criss, and there was a bit of controversy that Ace was making more than Peter, and there was this big. I think they both walked away with a couple of million each, but financially, I don't think it was lucrative for Gene and Paul. But then they went and were doing the Kiss cruises, and then they brought other band members in, Bruce Kulick, and I forget the other, Thayer. And so they made money, and I forget if they were doing a Las Vegas show as well, like a lounge lizard kind of thing. Canadian rock musician nicknames the Professor. Is that Neil Peart? Heavy Devi. That one escapes me. I'm either too young or too old for that one. Odorous Anungus. Those are fantastic, every one of them. I have no idea. I couldn't connect that to an actual performer though. So you got me there, Aiden. I'm gonna have to look that one up. You've given me some homework. Uh, I'm willing to nominate all three of them for consideration in this top 10. Let's put this. Let's put the S in sex. See, What's the Matter is so critical. He's got this musical elitism that we need to kind of cure him of. I mean, that's straight ahead rock and roll poetry. Like, I don't know how you could even diss that. Straight up, that's like, well, that's not quite on the same level as, say, Shakespeare or Emily Dickinson, but man, like, what do you want? Neil Peart, Heavy Devi is Devin Townsend, Odorous Angus is Dave Brocky from Gwar. I can't say I'm familiar with any of those except Neil. And I've never been a huge Rush fan. It's listenable, but I'm not to the point where it inspired me to learn any Rush songs to play on an instrument. I said this in a previous video. Neil Peart, brilliant drummer, but within the context of Rush, the band, it makes sense. If he was to try to do that with any other combo, I don't know if you'd have the chemistry or the ability to appreciate what he was doing within the context of Rush. So I'm in agreement with Andy Edwards on this one. Like, incredible drummer, incredible talent, incredible mind for music, but within the context of Rush, we can't say, one way or the other what it would have been outside of Rush. But I'm okay with calling him the professor, but again, I don't want to exact too much criteria on this top 10 list because it's all just baloney anyway. So it's just me babbling about stuff. But I wanted to beat Andy Edwards to the punch in case he had done a top 10 nickname list or had thought of it. So I published mine on June 21st, my top 7. So there. And yeah, so there's, like I say, I was just coming up with these off the top of my head, and it was the Skeeter Davis remark by Graham Parsons in this radio interview that I was listening to yesterday. I thought that'd make a good video. Top 10 rock and roll nicknames. So feel free to add to my list. We can make a top 100. Or whatever. Maybe I'll write a book about it or something. But there we go. And so yeah, what else? Oh yeah, I kind of left off yesterday's video. I think we're done with the music portion of tonight's programming. We'll skip the commercial break. No, let's do the commercial. Paid promotion. This video brought to you by water. So, well water. Drink it. It's good for you. Oh, I'm buffering here. See, I was tempting fate with that paid promotion. I might have just jinxed the whole thing. Oh yeah, just a heads up, if we do lose the signal, it's because my internet sucks out here. And so we'll just keep going. We had a little bit of rain the other day. And it wasn't thunderstorms or lightning or anything, but I kept having my power glitching throughout the day. So if my um, if my internet modem conks out, that's what happened. Or if the stream ends, it's because I momentarily lost power. Water, never touch the vile stuff. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to represent all tastes here. I had a can of Dr. Pepper ready to go as well. But maybe I left that downstairs. But I left off. There's no fluoride or chlorine in this? Well, that's no good. It'll just water my plants with this. I need the good stuff. Or I'll just switch to tea. I think I did OD on caffeine between yesterday and today. I think it's possible I'm having an out of body experience right now, and I just am not aware of what that's like, and so I'm just pretending like this is normal, but way too much coffee in the last couple of days. But I left off yesterday. I was going to mention synchronicity, and I've touched on this a bit before. I'm curious to hear your guys' experiences of this or what to make of it. I see there's stuff on YouTube trying to explain synchronicity, and these ones aren't profound at all. I love when there's like a meaning to a synchronicity you experience, and that's by something that's going on in your life, and then in some unrelated way, some other person or some other circumstance lines up so similarly. And I've described some synchronicities I've had on other streams or other videos here. But in the last week, there was a synchronicity. It was a very minor one, but it had a little bit of meaning. And then I'll share another one that had absolutely no meaning at all. And it sort of, that one is almost more perplexing. It's like, why? Why would this line up with that? There's no apparent connection, or there's nothing to interpret other than the universe is watching you and acknowledging that you exist or something. I believe it's something spiritual going on. It could be just the power of the mind or something. Yeah, I had mentioned in yesterday's video, like this project we were supposed to take on at my buddy's farm. That looks like it's pretty much dead in the water. And for whatever reason, frozen up here. It's all good. Okay. I'll be back in a second. Good evening, Mr. Osgood. Welcome in, welcome in. So yeah, you guys are kind of running the show here. This is the rolling around in the mud show. You learn something from paying attention to someone else's situation that ends up being something you need to know right then. Yeah, I would agree. Like if you can make that connection, but like I'll tell the first one first. It's fun reading through your comments, but again, there's nothing profound or nothing. There's no teachable moment. It's important to notice when the stars align. It brings insight, reflection, peace. Yeah, I think there's the ability to kind of confirm your path or the direction you're going in, possibly. But anyways, yeah, getting back to the tragic story of the farming. Oh, sorry, I spit on you. Yeah, it looks like it's just not gonna move forward. So I kind of it was kind of a load off my mind in that, okay, I'm gonna stick back to my original plan. I am gonna sell this house, sell everything, basically become borderline homeless and move out west, Alberta, BC. Stick around in Alberta. I've got friends and family out there, and then probably make my way out into British Columbia. What's the matter? You are nothing short of profound in everything you do. So just keep going. You're you're doing it. You're doing the stuff. So just keep giggling, and we'll giggle along with you. Uh, and so yeah, even a week ago, I was kind of seeing the writing on the walls. Like this project is just doomed to failure. And every day throughout the week, it was sort of inching closer. But I was at a family gathering last week. It was on Father's Day, and my cousin was there, and her husband, and they said, "Yeah, we bought this property out in British Columbia near such and such a town." And I said, "Oh, really? This is nice." And so they have property here, close to Winnipeg, my hometown. And I said, "Yeah, I've always wanted to live out there. For the last 25 years, at least." And so it's not that I'm trying to avoid eye contact with you guys. I'm looking at the chats down here. So they said, "Yeah, it's great. We just bought this place. We've been out there a couple times, and yeah, if you ever want, you can come stay with us." And so it was like, well, I've been planning on making a move eventually there. This farming project was only, in my mind, going to be like a 2-year project, anyways. I didn't see it as a permanent change, or I was going to put down roots there. I wanted to help my buddies get this thing launched and then move on. And it was sort of a diversion. My original plan, when I realized there's nothing left here for me, is just sell the house, get out of Dodge, head for the hills. And there's lots of hills in Alberta and BC. There's no hills around here, so even if I wanted to head to the hills, I'd have a long drive to get to one. And so yeah, it was just kind of this confirmation. It's like, yeah, people are thinking along the same lines. So it wasn't technically a synchronicity, more of along the lines of a coincidence, but just that openness. And my cousin saying, "Yeah, we got a half acre. You can build a little cabin in the back somewhere." Like, that's thanks for the offer. I don't think I'm going to do that, but just the idea of like, let's. It's like there's people wanting to pioneer a path towards what's available as far as opportunities, or as we're getting older, finding a place to retire or what have you. I'll find something to do. Like it doesn't matter what I do. I'll there'll be no lack of fulfilling opportunities for me to get embroiled in, entangled in. But this other synchronicity, so that one has a tiny smidge, a speck of meaning in it. Just to confirm, it's like, yeah, maybe, because I hadn't decided about this farm thing. I was still kind of a coin toss. It could go either way, but I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday is like, no, this is dead. This is deader than dead. I want out. You guys, bless you what you're doing, but the adventure is no longer my adventure. So I release you to achieve all the success you want in this endeavor, but you don't need me for what you guys are getting involved in. So that was kind of like a load off my mind. It's like I can start thinking about liquidating everything, because for the last month, it's like, what do I keep? What do I sell? What how do I distribute or liquidate all this stuff? Like we got tons of junk that has been accumulating for a long time. And so that remark from my cousin about British Columbia, I was like, all right, so maybe like it's time to start just thinking, where's West? West is right outside this window, so I should start just looking in that direction, not wherever, back that way. And so that was one, like I say, speck of meaning within a somewhat of a synchronicity. But then yesterday, I was driving home from the other farm. I had gone there and it's sort of like, oh, yeah. And then on the drive home, I was like, no, this is a big steaming pile of something, and yeah, we're done. And so I decided to stop at Dairy Queen. So I'm sure you folks have Dairy Queen down in the States. I don't know if anybody that's going to be watching this from across the pond or elsewhere in the world if you have Dairy Queen, but it's kind of an ice cream and burger place, you know. And I've been trying to kind of look at my waistline, and my diet has been horrible, or you know, the things I've been eating have been pretty horrible for the last 6 months. So I decided to get more discipline, less junk food, less snackies, and you know, general junk food. And so I've been failing miserably at that. So I decided to reward myself with a peanut butter parfait. Like, why not? You only live once. And so I pulled into this Dairy Queen drive-through, uh, gave the speaker box my order, and then pulled up to the window and gave the nice young East Indian man my money. And uh, I was switching. I got a CD player in my truck, so I was pulling out one CD. It was Allman Brothers' Greatest Hits or something, and I wanted to stick in Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. So just a little insignificant detail there, but when you eject a CD, so I'm waiting for my ice cream. The window is closed, or he's closed his sliding window, and so I pressed eject. The CD came out, and then on my stereo, the radio comes on if there's no CD or tape being played. So right at the moment I was pulling the CD out, it was the radio station was set to CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation news from Winnipeg. I don't know why I listened to that, like I don't listen to the radio typically, but it was just set on whatever CBC, and they were interviewing someone about how they learned to speak Icelandic, and the person being interviewed said, and so the first thing I learned how to say was ice cream sundae. And then she said a few things after that, and it like it was just the most random thing. It's like, here I'm waiting for my ice cream sundae, and on the radio they're talking about an ice cream sundae. So there's like literally no meaning to derive from ice cream sundaes in any way, shape, or form, unless maybe you guys can interpret this or decipher this for me. Dilly bar, and this frickin' holy, like, what Bao was complaining that a grain of salt is like $80. This ice cream sundae, like, it wasn't even as big as this. It's half the size of this. It's $8. I could have bought 2 fake ice cream tubs, you know, the smaller sized ones that they shrinkflated, for $8 on sale. You know, the real fake stuff. Instead, I got the Dairy Queen fake stuff. I mean, it's tasty, but that was my little reward for cheating on my diet. Is some ice cream. But like, why would the radio at that moment in time align with some scowl talking about ice cream sundaes as I'm waiting for this friendly young East Indian man to pass me my ice cream sundae? It's a synchronicity, most definitely, but WTF? What is that? Well, technically you're right, but I think semantically I'm going to classify it as an ice cream sundae, even though it technically was a peanut butter parfait. So yeah, it's a conversation with the universe, but what on earth is the universe saying other than, I don't know if it was giving me a nod or it was giving me one of the, like, sometimes my insight is a little murky. So yeah, gotta treat yourself. That's uh, just that was my only intention. I want a little treat, you know. Uh, yeah, and so whatever. That was the most meaningless synchronicity I think I've ever had in my life. And so I'm not going to read a lot into it other than it happened. You know, I'm not going to sit here and deny that it didn't happen, or that I'm not going to deny that it happened. But as far as trying to extract some meaning out of it, that's I'm I'm drawing a blank. So maybe I'm not supposed to figure anything out from that. But anyways, I guess yeah, that's kind of the little bit of flicking some mud on you guys so let's get right into the rolling in the mud. I wanted to say a few things about the Lane Myers situation. I haven't had much to say of it as of late. Hey, welcome in, Dad. Chores are done. Found you live. An ice cream. It was hot here this week, and the temperatures just plummeted. So I should have had that ice cream sundae earlier in the week. It was nowhere near as hot. Well, no, yesterday afternoon was pretty hot. It was a cool, refreshing, creamy, hot, chocolatey, peanutty treat. But yeah, there's a fair amount of interesting things being said, I guess, on YouTube about the Lane Myers case. I've actually been tuning in. I saw Aiden the other night on Merb's live stream. They were talking about the DMA and who's Frauditor Troll Delio, or he was reviewing the brain damage live stream. Direct D's buddy, or one of Direct D's fake channels, and I'm actually getting a lot of helpful insight from Merv, but there's also a lot of stuff that he's just not connecting with. And so it's not that I in any way want to try to distance myself or separate from being a supporter of Lane Myers, but for Merv to come on and call all Lane Myers supporters or followers retards and low IQs, you're not helping anybody. And so my desire is to give Lane as much credit for what he's done, which I think is a lot. It is remarkable, but it's like Merv is not connecting with what I don't want to put words in Lane's mouth. I'd actually prefer for Lane to come speak his own position on this, but I'm just giving my perspective. This doesn't mean anything. It's just for clarity's sake. My reason for watching Lane, or my motivation, was that he seemed to be onto something. I'm not as much of a statist, if in any way kind of a statist as Lane is. You guys are kind of crooked here. You guys feel like you're falling off? Let's try to level you out. It's a little better. We'll talk about Merb. It's not that he sucks. It's just he's not seeing what I'm seeing, and possibly what Lane's followers are seeing, or even what Lane is seeing. I never saw Lane as an auditor or part of the First Amendment audit community. He's gone through his story on his live streams, which totals in the thousands of hours. So I've got a glimpse into why he is the way he is and does what he does and says what he says. But what I recognize in the situation is Lane is protesting the the paradigm or the status quo, and it's like there's a group of people or community, if you want. It's not limited to YouTube by any means, uh, and it's not even a legal argument, but it's like the system in place doesn't offer equitable relief to people. And I if there's a criticism of Lane, I don't think he looked at the equity side of things, and he kept hammering on the letter of the law, and that might have swamped him. In that he didn't, like, as far as detail, like you guys, many of you that are familiar with his story, like he was too meticulous on the details of the letter of the law, the word of the law. And there are times when equitable relief, there's the equity side of law and the or the equity side of justice and the legal side of justice. A case in equity versus a suit in equity versus a suit at law. And I'm not going to go into teaching about that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't claim to be one or an expert at law. Like Lane is a much more experienced with the system, with the laws, with what he was trying to accomplish. But he very quickly, once the pincers came around, once they circled the wagons around, like he was just overwhelmed, and that's not anything to criticize. And I'll read Watson's comments in a second. I just want to kind of finish this train of thought, but I saw Lane torture testing the system, and that's whether you're a statist or a voluntarist or anarchist or some combination thereof. It's like we see there's a lack of justice fundamentally baked into the cake of this system. And Lane kept trying to, go after either the judge or the prosecutor or the prosecutor's wife or, any number of people. The part store guy, the Deloria, it didn't matter. But he was just poking the system. And it seemed like he was getting results, which he was, back throughout all last fall. The charges were getting dropped one by one, but then it's like the system, the status quo regrouped, saw the strategy that was forming from Lane's side, and they adapted, and Lane was unable to adapt ahead until the avalanche just kind of came down on him. And now accepting the plea deal, like, you do what you got to do. There's absolutely no shame, no dishonor. It doesn't matter what you signed. You got to do what's best for you, Lane. And so Murd would come on and criticize Lane. Lane's this stupid. Lane's this whatever. He's a goof. He doesn't know the law. Well, he knows enough of the law in that in our minds we figure if we haven't done anything wrong, we should be able to walk into a court and common sense prevails. And so Lane was pushing it back against a system where that equitable justice wasn't being administered, or it wasn't even accessible. So whether you call it kangaroo or railroaded, and so I respect Murd's perspective as a lawyer. Like, he's got the experience. He knows how the system works. He's actually pretty good explaining the laws, explaining procedure, explaining what's going on, because I'm not familiar with that. And so hearing Merb talk about certain things is like, yeah, okay, that's where Lane effed up, or that's where Lane didn't realize that argument is not going to matter in a court of law, but instead maybe as approaching the court from the equity side, there might be some relief. Like, Again, as far as American law, I don't want to be prescribing or describing or trying to come across as authority in any way. This is just a layman's perspective. And so Merv is almost, mocking, laughing in a way that you should have known better. And we're like, no, like we don't want to learn that system. We don't want to have to participate in this unjust system. Like, we're trying to change the system. And it's not that it even needs to be completely dismantled, but for goodness sakes, like, for leaving a voicemail and one email, and then people who aren't even in the same state, that have no possibility of being harmed by anything that anybody did, like, the victims suffered no tangible harm other than between their ears. And so, okay, maybe that was traumatizing. It seemed pretty mild to me. And somehow this escalated to felony stalking and harassment and whatever, just this whole laundry list. So, I mean, I'm not interested in getting into it with Merb, but it's like Merb is not seeing, like, there's a need for this system to change. Like, we don't want the system to change us. Like, we believe, or some people believe, that the constitutional republic, as written on, the founding documents, the original papers, are the law of the land, and, like, that's clearly not the case. And so so there's a lot of factors involved, whether it's morality, ethics, elections, the structure of government, the structure of the legal system, the justice system. But getting on your channel and challenging Lane Meyer's followers, supporters, because we're all low IQ dummies, it's like, we're not trying to engage with you and make this a right or wrong. It's like, we're trying to create a more equitable system for everybody. And if that means people get their fifis hurt, or let's go with feelings hurt, because fifi might have another connotation depending on I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I'm not interested in getting into a beef or a legal argument with anybody, because Merv has been not going after, but commenting on Lucid Layers stuff and other people. And by all means, like, have at it. This YouTube space is big enough for lots of opinions. We need more conflicting opinions just to get everybody's perspective. But it's almost like I get the sense that Merv writes off all of us as less than and not deserving of hearing our opinions respected. But I agree, like, if you're not a legal expert, like, don't just say Lane is innocent. It's acknowledging someone feels Lane did something wrong, but now he's in a cage, when that makes no sense whatsoever. And we want that to not be the case. So help us understand, or help us be a force that can change that lunatic system, because that's not what we're interested in living under. And so Lane, to me, kind of represented that from a statist standpoint, in that he believes in government, he believes in the rule of law, he believes in the procedure, and that if you can stand in front of that cross-dressing tyrant in the black robe and get your motions heard and your arguments heard and get it on the record, like, you'll prevail. Well, that's not at all, like, things went sideways very quickly. And so it was a good learning experience for all of us. But, like, from Merv, I'd like to hear a constructive conversations. Like, let's pick this apart. Let's do a post-mortem. And instead of saying, well, his appeal will fail, his habeas corpus will blah, 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 he's doomed, he's screwed, he's effed himself, blah, blah, blah. He's not married, as if that matters. He was never married. In Arizona, they don't recognize common law. Nothing to do with anything. If Lane wants to say he's married, who cares? The fact that people who hate Lane or that love frauded or troll are willing to jump down Lane's throat over the fact that he's not technically husband and wife with, like, that just shows me you have no argument. And I'm not putting words in Merb's mouth, but I do think he took a few jabs at Lane along those lines over that fact that they aren't they don't have a state recognized union, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to go back and read some comments. You guys got to get the gist of what I'm saying. Lane has been what I would call railroaded. I think they're going to try to make an example of him. I don't know what ramifications that has, but he's got to get out of jail. Like, just do whatever it takes at this point. Like, so not throwing any shade on Lane. I want to support him, but I have no idea what to do from where I sit in something that's actually going to help him, other than talking about this, giving my perspective. But yeah, there's a lot of Lane haters. There's Lane supporters, and whatever side you fall on, like, let's have a constructive conversation, not just name calling, and like that's not helping anybody. Let's go back and read some comments. So, what's the matter? Rock and Roll U says DirectD actually spent the time to open accounts in your name and impersonate you on X and other platforms I'm not on. Are you guys hearing this? And you call me guilty. Okay, all right. I do have a sock account that actually says Matt and Shannon Walker, but maybe we'll delete that one. So loserish. You're being kind there. That's so dookie-ish. And if you don't know what that reference is, well, you need to watch Clash with Bao and Smurf Watch Transparency. People didn't fall for it and took a minimal amount of detective work for Kinetic Customs and Racing and I to find proof of who he really was. He didn't cover tracks well at all. Yeah, I mean, I do not want to get into a beef with DirectD. I just want to sit back and laugh at him. Don't ever let the tweaking stop. If he's tweaking out, don't get in his way. We need that content. So just, what's the matter with you? I don't have, I don't want to pat you on the head or anything, or I don't have consolation, but yeah, that totally sounds like something you would do. Breaking here. So did you cover this on your channel, or how did you break this apart? I'm going back here. I got to catch up on the chat. So comment, like what became of that? So you got him to stop, but it's like, that's what he does. Like, so not cool, but cool. That's pretty tweaky, man. I wish I could do a Woody Woodpecker laugh. I've turned red here. Woo! I need a ice cream sundae. All right, okay, let's see. The founders wanted our laws to be simple. Yeah, we want a simple system, not this cross-dressing black robe tyrant system where the prosecutor's wife can get injunctions and grand juries, like nonsense. It's like I called shenanigans on this, I don't know how long ago, but this craziness with the Lane situation and the Tweaker D situation. Merv wants to be empowered by such as, yeah, and that's kind of the difference. Like, Merv doesn't recognize this segment of who we are, that it's like, we don't want that. Like, we're nonconformists. We're against the status quo. Like, we don't need to destroy the status quo, to pulverize it into dust. But it's like there's got to be a way that people can access justice other than he did this wrong, he did that wrong. If you were a lawyer, you would know. And Michael Eline is this, and that. Chili's done that, and a bunch of retards, all of them, and like that. That's not helping anybody. And yeah, so again, I don't know, Merb. I I mean, I think he's commented on Lane is a bit of a like he's a personality. He is the way he is. He can be abrasive, or I don't want to put into Merb's mouth things he may have commented on Lane's mannerisms or personality quirks or attributes, however you want to see it. But it's like you look at Merb, it's like I wouldn't want this guy representing me if I needed a lawyer. Like he's abrasive, he's rude, he's got a yeah. It occurred to me that like Lane doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He's just focused on he wants to live free. Whereas Merv is like he might agree, yeah, Lane should be allowed to live free, but you just feel this chip on his shoulder that just won't go away. That's the way he comes across to me. And you can do that. Whatever, but it's just there's a tone, there's a condescending tone that is not helpful to open conversation or to getting results. And I'm kind of about results. So Lane wants the rules to be followed and not perfidiously manipulated. Perfidiously. Aiden wants to comment. Well, we'll tune into your live stream next. So I'll be ending this soon, and we'll come. You can give your monologue, but that's my take. Like, I was supposed to wear the Pro Se idiot shirt today, but I forgot. Next time, like I'm not interested in going and hashing out battles in court. Like this is Lane's wheelhouse. Like he gets off on that. Like this is what he loves. Like his girlfriend slash wife slash whatever you want to call her. She's a freaking lawyer, for goodness sake. Like he's been a law enthusiast since the SWAT team was pointing an automatic weapon at his head on his 5th birthday. I mean, he's told that story. Like he knows stuff, and he lives for this. Not me. I'm not interested in battling it out in court. I want to equip myself with knowledge, and if I need that skill to be able to apply it, but I'm not going looking for ways to invade the system, and I think there's other strategies to employ. I think just withdrawing consent for the most part. But this is what Lane's all about, and it's like one segment of society doesn't acknowledge that the other segments exists. It's like they aren't aware that there's differences in the way people think. They think everybody needs to think the same way, and that's just not the way humanity was designed. Which is I'm gonna use that to segue. So I'm having coffee with another buddy this afternoon, and I'm telling him the sob story. We'll get back to Lane in a second in your comments, but I just want to interject this. So I'm telling him the story about the farm, the other farm, and is how it's just falling apart. And he, like I was talking very passionately, not yelling, not crying or anything, but at one point he said, you know, do you think you need a little Jesus in your life? And I'm like, well, no, I think, you know, like I'm a Christian. I've said that before on this channel. They're like, no, I think I'm good with Jesus. And he reaches into his pocket. He's like, well, I think you could use a little Jesus. So he sets this on the table. It's this little Jesus. Jesus, coming to get you. And so, so I started laughing. I said, all right, yes, that's just what I needed, a little Jesus. Actually, give me a whole handful because I need to take these to the farm and throw it at my buddies and get them covered in a little bit of Jesus. So so there we go, just a little bit of comic relief. So if anybody needs a little Jesus, come hit me up. I got you. Back to your comments. Didn't cover it on your channel. Called him out. He freaked a little. I think I'm permanently blocked on. I don't even know what channel. He's changed his name from Christopher Ruff to Chris Meanyhead Ross. Like, can anybody explain this to me? The Direct D channel, he posts stuff, but then he started buying all these YouTube channels with 500,000 subscribers and then giving them to his buddies, or maybe it's all AI. I don't know. But YouTube clown. Or, like I say, tweak on, brother. Tweak on. But yeah, we might have to get What's the Matter to do a full breakdown for us in excruciating detail. Like, don't leave out anything. I didn't want to give it any more attention than necessary. No, no, no. You need to draw attention to this. Everyone blocked his fake accounts. He did then come into your comments pretending to be another channel. Is everybody reading this? Is everybody seeing what I'm seeing from What's the Matter with You? Holy smokes. You got, whoa. I love this. I love this. You just made my day. So you pretending to be other channels to talk weird stuff and claim I was dating Chili. Hey, are you saying you wouldn't date Chili? Put in the comments. Are you saying right now that you would not date Chili? Because if the answer, be careful how you answer. I haven't been on Chili's channel in a while, but I'll let him know. I tried not to give him attention, and he seems to have moved on. So we're only getting What's the Matter You's side. I imagine Christopher Meanyhead Dookie has got his own side of the story. So to be fair, I guess if Christopher Ruff wants to come on, and I mean, I don't have a panel set up, but feel free to set the matter straight, because What's the Matter You is talking some real smack here in my comment section, and this is amazing. Aiden, yeah, we're along the same. People who really care about the system, or I really think people who care about the system do empower it. So Lane and Merb, yeah, I agree. It's just Lane has got a strategy. And so Lane is a conformist to some degree, but you've seen his personality. I talked about archetypes way back many videos ago. I don't even know if I talked about much in a live stream, but we're going to have to go and readdress archetypes. But it's like Lane's got a bit of a martyr archetype in operation. I've got a bit of a lone wolf archetype going in me, with a bit of the wizard and a bit of homeless Karl Marx at the same time thrown in. But Lane, he was kind of towards the last of his live streams, like he was believing, he was the people's champion, like he was the chosen one. And it got a little weird at that point. It was entertaining, but it's like, okay, just, perspective. And it made for great YouTubing, great content. And so that chosen one archetype, which you see like in the Matrix with Neo or Luke Skywalker, the Jedi. I don't know. Maybe Lane has had some Jedi training that he's definitely got the Charlie Buckets anointing. But but yeah, it's sort of like now he's kind of in the martyr seat. So what's going to happen? Like he's being punished, and they want to punish him more. So I don't know if he's embracing a martyr's identity in himself, but I see him more. I've described him as the anti-hero, and that would be like somebody like the Joker in the Batman series, where you're cheering for the villain. Like Lane, on the surface, there's not a lot. Your average normie that just wants to mind their own business and is working $12 an hour job at O'Reilly's, they don't need a guy hassling them over muffler bolts or catalytic converter bolts and getting into it. Now I got to call the police. Like, I could see how Lane is abrasive in his way, but Merv is abrasive in his way. You know, we kind of touched on that. But yeah, they're both kind of empowering that system and giving it more power. And I've always been about, you know, bottom up, not top down. And that system is about top down control. And the power structure is, you know, pyramidal shaped. So whatever symbolic connotations out of that. But I've always thought grassroots, you know, from the ground up. That's the way. You know, you look at, you know, I got grass in my backyard that's going to need cutting after this rain. But that root system, it just works its way in, and every individual blade is part of a node system of this community. But that's like real growth, real health, a real vigorous system. Because if I didn't cut that grass, in another 2 weeks, like it would be 16 inches tall. Like this is a healthy grassroots system that I've got in my backyard. And that's what we need in society is individuals with a strong foundation, strong morals, deep roots, you know, whether spiritually or in their communities, together having this community that's vigorous and healthy and green, and the top-down system where you're applying chemical fertilizer and treatments from above. No, it's from the ground up. The soil feeds it. The life-giving power of the earth itself is what gives us strength. So not to get too philosophical or too poetic here or too symbolic, but I've always been about bottom up. Like that's real authenticity. The top-down stuff, that's our system, from the president or the king and his council or his cabinet through Congress or Parliament. You know, it's top-down power, and the people at the bottom, what's happening at the top is so far removed from us, we don't even know what's going on. I don't want to empower that system. I want each of us working together to help and fulfill our individual needs. I don't want to rely on that top-down system to say, well, we're going to give you a universal basic income. Just we're going to pay you to breathe, or we're going to pay you to watch YouTube. We're going to pay you to watch ads on the internet. It's like that's not what I want. That's not what I need. That's not going to contribute to a healthy society. Like if I said to my lawn, you know, I'm going to give you a drop of water every 3 months, whether there's drought or rain, like I'm going to end up with like it's not a great analogy or simile, but you get what I'm saying. Top down sucks. Ground up, grassroots is where it's at. Mini Jeebus. Yeah. Coming to get you. Mini Jesus gonna get you. And then direct D threatened to, thou shalt not create graven images. I don't know if this is graven. I think it's rubber. So it was probably poured into a mold, I'm assuming. So that's not graven. Like graven is a different process. So I think this is, and on the sash, it even says Jesus loves you. So this total legit, it's allowed. I'm giving him a pass on this one. DirectD threatened to send someone to your house. It's just not tweaky ways. Not shock or not shook. Okay, not shook. Yeah, what do you do with that? I mean, I don't know that I need to see DirectD in jail where many believe he needs to be, but like that's gonna catch up to you. Like that it just is. Aiden, for talking shit on the internet, is gonna have people sent to his house now. Like, am I supposed to be worried? Whatever. Aiden, yeah, he said he wanted us to play catch with his crossbow. Like, yeah, is Merb watching? Like, are you seeing this? Do we have a case here against a certain YouTube tweaker? The Joker didn't lecture about Martin Luther King and preach agape. Yeah, as an archetype, I'm just giving an example off the top of my head, like as an anti-hero. So I'm not comparing Lane to the Joker, but as an anti-hero archetype, it's like your average person is not going to connect with Lane. But once they see what he's really trying to do, you could recruit people to your cause. And so to the point where the villain becomes the hero, or the perceived villain. So there's a whole unpackaging of that. Like, who's the real villain in Batman? Is it the billionaire? Or is it the guy that the billionaire says is bad? So go ponder that on your own. We've all been poured into that mold. Found those all over work one day. That must have. I would be a little. Yeah, what's the matter is sending people to my house now. I live right here. I live in the armpit. I'm wearing. This is the town I live. I live in the armpit. So. Nobody's gonna send anybody to Wasa's house. Like, the poor guy. I mean, hasn't he suffered enough? Like, I'm not gonna threaten to send anybody your way. So it's all cool. If anybody you send comes up here, I'll buy him a ice cream sundae. There's a good place in town here. They got good ice cream. The Dairy Queen is far away, so you wouldn't get a peanut butter parfait, but I can hook you up with some good ice cream. To make the world a better place, we gotta start in our own neighborhoods. Yeah, here it's just me, so I've got that taken care of. No, actually, I've got neighbors. Yeah, I'm only on 5 acres, and so there's people nearby. It's not like I'm in the middle of nowhere on this huge tract of land. I would love to have some rangeland of 5,000 acres where nobody can come find me. Or if they did, I'd find them first. I get distracted by world problems I can't not control. That leads to getting overstimulated and threatened by boofers. Yeah. By the cell boofer. So if you're not a Smurf Watch transparency viewer, I mean, it was this spring that he was really getting hammered. Let's see. Just give me a second here. Help you guys out. This is what we're talking about. No phones up the butt under any circumstance. It was great. I got to talk to my mom and my sisters. Everybody does it. Well, at least 30% of the people. So, fast fact here, if you weren't aware of this, as many as 30% of you out there are willing to stick a phone up their butt. It's not that big. It was great. Yeah. So there you go. I think have we beaten this horse to death, or should we go on? How long have we been rolling around in this mud here? 86 minutes. Holy crap, it's past your guys' bedtime. I know Dad's got to get to bed. You're on the East Coast. It was great. Yeah, so that's about all I had for today. Just those comments online. There's a little more to say, but it's like just let's get them out of there, or let's see what the sentencing is so we know where we stand. It's frustrating seeing that this is a system that we got to contend against. Like I see no way to access the workings of that system in a way that's going to bring a satisfactory outcome. Again, someone left a voicemail for you and an email, and you were victimized by all that. That's a real stretch. Like the common sense has left the building. So yeah, I think we'll kind of wind it down. Thank you guys for rolling around in the mud with me. Tomorrow's going to be a lot more mud to roll around in. Not on YouTube, but we'll see. We'll see when I can do a live next. It's a busy week here too. I got the house being prepped for painting, and so I hate painting. There's so much prep and so much cleanup. I don't mind the actual putting the paint on the wall, but all the stuff that comes before and all the stuff after, it's just, I'm like that with most trades. I don't mind doing the actual twisting the wires or fitting the pipes together, but just all the prep work or the welding. It takes longer to prep a piece for welding than it does to actually do the fusing of the metal. So with that, thank you all. Send in your top nicknames. I think that's an interesting conversation. We might have to have a top 100 list. And July 1st sentencing. Yep, that's the day we're looking at. Appreciate you all. Oh yeah, I almost hit this other milestone. I think I was just about to go over 300 subscribers. So it's not that I care per se. Like, I guess another attitude about Merb that I like is like, I'm not monetizing this shit. I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm just getting up here and saying what I want to say because it's for me, or like I'm not necessarily looking to provide value to any of you guys. I appreciate you all, but this is about me, not you. I'll look up, these guys you mentioned there, Aiden. Thank you. And yeah, so like I was commenting yesterday or this week, like I didn't put out any content for a while. Like it was probably close to a month. And I grew by like 50 subs just by doing nothing. So I figured I was going to sit back and see where this ends. And it's all people coming over from Andy Edwards' channel. So I appreciate that too. All you Andy Edwards viewers, let's get him to 100,000 subs. That's been his thing. But he's on every platform you could think of, Substack and Patreon and this and that. So yeah, I'll give you a heads up on the next live. I don't have a lot to say when my brain is all kerfuddled with getting this house prepped. And but I think that farm project, that being off my mind, will free up some hard drive space where I can actually have some meaningful conversations with y'all. I enjoy this. It was a lot of fun. This was a fun live stream. And I think enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you on the next one. Love y'all. Bye-bye.